friends, thank you very much for coming out today to express solidarity with the oppressed people of Yemen. The barbaric Saudi regime has been waging war on the people of Yemen since March of 2015. So far, more than 13,000 innocent civilians have been slaughtered in Yemen. Additionally, 1 million Yemeni children are suffering from a cholera epidemic that the United Nations has declared the worst cholera epidemic in history.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Shame! The entire infrastructure of Yemen has been destroyed. Hospitals are being bombed, markets are being bombed, people's homes are being bombed, funeral processions are being bombed, and exactly a month ago, a school bus was attacked by missiles from Saudi planes that slaughtered 40 children on the spot.
Shame! 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 Saudi Arabia!
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 Shame! Shame! Saudi Arabia! Saudi Arabia and its criminal allies have also imposed a siege on Yemen. So no food, no medicines can get into Yemen. As a result, more than 22 million of Yemen's 24 million people are food deficient. Many are starving to death. Children are starving to death. And yet, our government, our Canadian government, that claims to be following and respecting human rights. Canada has a Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Canada claims to be a parliamentary democracy, and yet it turns a blind eye and continues to supply weapons to Saudi Arabia that Saudi Arabia is using illegally against the very agreement of that arms sale that Canada had entered into. So
shame, Saudi Arabia.
So in this sense, Canada is complicit in the war crimes that the Saudi regime and its criminal allies are perpetrating against the people of Yemen.
Shame, shame, shame on Al Saud.
Let me tell you something about the Saudi regime. It used to be a family-run business.
Yes.
Now it is a one-man dictatorship.
Yes.
And that one man, that criminal, Mohammed bin Salman, is a total idiot and a total moron, and he is killing innocent people not only in Yemen, but he's also attacking people inside Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Let me give you some examples. Last week, 5 women peace activists were charged, and the regime is asking to have them executed because they simply called for respect for human rights in Saudi Arabia.
Shame.
This is the kind of regime that we are dealing with. The same regime that is in bed with America, the same regime that is in bed with Zionist Israel, the same regime that is now in bed with Canada. We say shame on the Canadian government that it cannot even uphold its own values and its own principles. And then it keeps around claiming that Canada is a democracy. What kind of a democracy would be in bed with a one-man dictatorship that murders its own people, that kills innocent people in Yemen, and there is no end to the war in Yemen? So we demand our government, our Canadian government, we are Canadian taxpayers, we are Canadian citizens. It is our right to demand of our government that they should uphold international law, that Canada should uphold its own principles that Saudi Arabia is violating. It is simply unacceptable that Canada should be arming a criminal regime like that in Saudi Arabia. In fact, we should be demanding that Canada should not only stop its arms sales, but it should join like-minded governments to send its army to stop the slaughter in Yemen. After all, United Nations sends peacekeeping forces all over the world to stop wars or to prevent wars from taking place or to prevent slaughter from occurring. Why can't Canada lead that movement to stop the slaughter of the people of Yemen? Tens of thousands of them have been killed or injured. And it is about time that this war is brought to an end. And it is about time that our government in Canada, our government in Ottawa, stop supplying weapons to these war criminals. Otherwise, Canada is also complicit in the war crimes of the Saudi regime. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Zafar Bangash.